sent tens of thousands to the gas chambers.
It was the year 1943. One of the most notorious Nazi war criminals of the 20th century would step foot onto the infamous concentration camp, Auschwitz. His role as one of the doctors that would select unfortunate victims as who gets to live and who would perish in the gas chambers. A physician and SS officer that pushed the Nazi eugenic ideologies, took opportunity to conduct inhumane experiments on concentration camp prisoners with no regards to safety or use of amnesia. The nickname given to Mengele, the Angel of Death, was earned through his cruel and unethical biological experiments, many of which were performed on children. His thirst for scientific knowledge and complete disregard of human life cemented his legacy as one of the most despicable figures of the Holocaust. Welcome back everyone, join us today as we explore the twisted life of one of history's most infamous figures, and unveil the horrors that earned him his notorious name, the Angel of Death. There will also be gruesome details in this video. Viewer discretion is advised. On top of that, I will also butcher some of these German words. Josef came from an ordinary background. Born on March 16, 1911 in Günzburg, Germany, Josef Mengele came from a well-to-do Catholic family. He had 2 younger brothers. His family were producers of farming machinery. He studied medicine and genetics, earning a doctorate in anthropology from the University of Munich in 1935. I think this is where his life started to turn. His early academic pursuits marked by a keen interest in eugenics, a pseudoscience promoting racial superiority and improvement of the human gene pool. This interest led him to finding out about Nazism. The idea of merged anti-Semitism, racial hygiene, and eugenics piqued his interest. On top of that, it incorporated pan-Germanism and territorial expansionism, aimed to secure Lebensraum, a living space for the Germanic people, pursued new territories by attacking Poland and the Soviet Union, targeted deportation or murder of Jews and Slavs, considered inferior to the, quote, Aryan master race. You get the gist. In this timeline, Josef joined the Nazi Party in 1937, and the following year he would join the Schutzstaffel, the SS, in 1938. He also completed basic training with the Gebirgsjäger, the light infantry mountain troop, that year. 2 years later, he would be called to service for the Wehrmacht, the Nazi armed forces. In June 1940, it consisted of the Heer Army, the Kriegsmarine, Navy, and the Luftwaffe, the Air Force. Josef would volunteer for the medical service in the Waffen-SS, the combat arm of the SS. He served as the SS Untersturmführer, the second lieutenant in a medical reserve battalion until November 1940. He was then assigned to the SS Rasse- und Siedlungshausamt, the SS Race and Settlement Main Office, in Poznan. Josef joined the 5th SS Panzer Division Viking as a battalion medical officer in January 1942, where he rescued 2 German soldiers from a burning tank. He was decorated with the Iron Cross First Class Wound Badge in Black Medal for the care of the German people. He was later on declared unfit for further active service in mid-1942 due to serious wounds near Rostov-on-Don. In 1943, Josef was assigned in Auschwitz, where he quickly rose to the position of chief physician in the camp's medical division. Less healing, more maiming and torture, where he conducted horrific experiments on prisoners, focusing on genetics and medical studies on twins and children. Josef was obsessed with creating a master race and believed his research could contribute to this goal. Experiments were brutal, inhumane, and resulted in countless deaths. Let's be honest here, most if not all Nazi experiments did not provide much scientific or medical value. They were mainly tortures and killings, and Josef's experiment were no different. His work violated all codes of medical ethics, including the Nuremberg Code, which was later developed after World War II to prevent such atrocities. Mengele used Auschwitz as an opportunity to continue his anthropological studies and research into heredity. Using inmates for medical experimentation, his medical experiments showed no consideration for the victim's health, safety, or physical and emotional suffering. He was particularly interested in identical twins, people with heterochromia iridium, eyes of 2 different colors, dwarves, and people with physical abnormalities. Twins research was of particular interest to Mengele. as one twin could serve as a subject with the other as the control. Miklos Nazili and others reported that the twin studies may have also been motivated by an intention to uncover strategies to racially desirable Germans to reproduce more twins. A grant was later provided by the Deutsche Forschungsgemeinschaft, German Research Foundation, at the request of von Schure, who received regular reports and shipments of specimens from Mengele. The grant was used to build a pathology laboratory attached to the crematorium II at Auschwitz II, Birkenau. Nazili, who was forced to work on Mengele's behalf due to his pathologist background, prepared specimens and performed autopsies for this laboratory. Mengele's research subjects were better fed and housed than other prisoners, and temporarily spared from the gas chambers. His research subjects lived in their own barracks, where they were provided with a marginally better quality of food and somewhat providing living conditions than the other areas of the camp. When visiting his young subjects, he introduced himself as Uncle Mengele and offered them sweets. A former Auschwitz inmate doctor said of Mengele, he was capable of being so kind to the children, to have them become fond of him, to bring them sugar, to think of small details in their daily lives, and to do things we would genuinely admire. And then, next to that, the crematoria smoke, and these children, tomorrow or in a half an hour, he is going to send them there. Well, that is where the anomaly lay. In his twin experiments, Mengele generally ordered the twins to undertake weekly physical examinations. Then he would subject them to a variety of procedures, including amputating healthy limbs, deliberately infecting them with diseases such as typhus, and transfusing the blood of one twin into another. Many died during the procedures, and those who survived were often killed and dissected for comparative post-mortem reports. Nazili recalled one occasion where Mengele killed 14 twins at the same time by injecting their hearts with chloroform. Some twins were sewn back to back in an attempt to create a conjoined twin. Jewish children kept alive in Auschwitz for use in Mengele's medical experiments, including twins Miriam Moses and Eva Moses, were liberated in January 1945. Other experiments he performed included injecting chemicals into inmates' eyes to change their eye color, removing the eyes of dead inmates and occasionally pinning them on walls like butterflies, removing the teeth and blood of dwarfs and inmates with physical abnormalities, and forcing inmates to undergo unnecessary drug and X-ray treatments. Pregnant women were also victims of these experiments. Survivors were typically sent to the gas chambers within weeks. Their skeletons were sent to Berlin for further analysis. Mengele removed the hearts and stomachs of victims without anesthesia and forced one inmate who survived the removal of a kidney to work without painkillers afterwards. Like, why? Anesthesia was invented in the 1840s, almost 100 years before Mengele even needed to conduct these experiments. In his 1986 book, Lifton described Mengele as sadistic, lacking empathy, and extremely anti-Semitic, believing the Jews should be eliminated as an inferior and dangerous race. He also believed that he was responsible for an unknown number of deaths via other experiments, lethal injections, beatings, and shootings. After Auschwitz liberation in 1945, Mengele evaded capture and fled Germany, where he lived under assumed identities in South American countries including Argentina, Paraguay, and Brazil. He eluded justice for decades, helped by a network of former Nazis and sympathizers. The hunt for Mengele intensified in the 1960s and 70s, led by organizations like Mossad and the Simon Wiesenthal Center. Despite extensive efforts, Mengele remained elusive, constantly changing identities and hiding places. Mengele's true identity was revealed in 1895, sparking renewed efforts to find him. He died in 1979, suffering a stroke and drowning while swimming in Brazil. His body was discovered and identified in 1985, ending the decades-long search for the Angel of Death. Josef Mengele had little to no intention of benefiting the scientific and medical research world. He abused his power and caused the suffering of many, dying a fitting death. If you would like to learn more about an in-depth story of Josef Mengele and his deeds, take a look in the link in the description below. The book is free upon signing up for a free trial. Just use the link in the description. Join me next time as we delve further into the next shadowy figure that was once a happy-go-lucky nurse turned murderer, nicknamed Jolly Jane. Until then, stay safe and never forget the lessons of the past. Thanks for tuning in. This is Quandrix. Till next time.